You missed a spot, janitor. Marcus Thompson froze. His mop stopped mid-stroke on the polished marble floor of Sterling Tech's executive lobby. The voice behind him was cold, sharp, expensive. He didn't turn around. He didn't have to. Everyone knew that voice. Victoria Chen, billionaire, CEO, the woman who'd built a tech empire before turning 40. But what she didn't know, what no one in this building knew, was that the black man in the gray uniform, holding a mop, had once held patents worth millions. Then his phone rang. A German number. And Marcus made the mistake of answering it. What happened next would change everything for both of them. If this story moves you, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this journey travels. The phone buzzed in Marcus Thompson's pocket at exactly 6:47 a.m. He ignored it. Rule number 1 at Sterling Tech: no personal calls during shift. Didn't matter if your kid was sick. Didn't matter if your house was on fire. You clock in, you shut up, you disappear. That's what 7 years of night security had taught him. How to disappear. The phone buzzed again. Marcus kept mopping. Slow strokes left to right the way Mr. Patterson liked it. No streaks, no water spots. Invisible work, done by an invisible man. Third buzz. His jaw tightened. Only one person had this number besides his daughter's school. And they wouldn't call 3 times unless... You gonna get that? Marcus looked up. Darnell, the other security guard on morning rotation, stood by the service elevator with his eyebrows raised. Can't, Marcus said. Man, that thing's been going off for 2 minutes straight. Patterson ain't here yet. Just check it real quick. Marcus pulled the phone from his pocket. The screen glowed with an international number +49. Germany. His heart stopped. Everything good? Darnell asked. Yeah. Marcus's voice came out rough. Yeah, give me a second. He ducked behind one of the massive marble pillars that lined the executive lobby. His thumb hovered over the green button. 7 years. 7 years since he'd seen a German number. 7 years since that part of his life had died along with everything else. He answered. Hello, here is Marcus Thompson. The German came out rusty, but intact like an old car engine turning over after years in a garage. Dr. Thompson. The voice on the other end was warm, professional. This is Professor Klaus Weber from the Technical University of Munich. I apologize for calling so early, but we've been trying to reach you for weeks. Marcus pressed his back against the cold marble. I'm not a doctor anymore. Your credentials say otherwise. Your paper on neural pathway integration in artificial intelligence systems, we're citing it extensively in our new research initiative. The university would like to invite you to participate in our international symposium next spring. Marcus closed his eyes. He could see it, the life he'd left behind. The lectures, the labs, the respect. I appreciate the call, Professor, but I'm not... Guten Morgen. Marcus's eyes snapped open. Victoria Chen stood 5 feet away. She wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than his annual salary. Her black hair was pulled back tight, her expression unreadable. Behind her, 2 assistants clutched tablets frozen in mid-step. The entire lobby had gone silent. Marcus realized with dawning horror that he was still holding the phone to his ear. Still standing behind the pillar. Still speaking German in front of the CEO of Sterling Tech. Ich muss auflegen, he said quickly into the phone. Danke für Ihren Anruf. I have to hang up. Thank you for your call. He ended the call and slipped the phone into his pocket in one motion. His mop was still leaning against the pillar, dripping onto the floor. Victoria Chen didn't move. You speak German, she said. Not a question. Yes, ma'am. Fluently. Marcus's mouth went dry. Yes, ma'am. She tilted her head slightly like a hawk examining something unexpected. What other languages? Behind her, the assistants exchanged glances. A security guard who spoke German. In the lobby at 6:47 a.m., Marcus hesitated. This was the part where he was supposed to say, just a little German, ma'am, and get back to mopping. That's what 7 years had taught him. Don't stand out. Don't show off. Don't remind them you're anything more than a uniform. But something in him, something that had been dormant for 7 long years, refused to lie. Japanese, he said. French, Mandarin, Spanish, some Arabic. Victoria Chen's expression didn't change, but her eyes did. Something flickered there. Surprise interest. And what's your name? Marcus Thompson, ma'am. Night security. I cover the early morning transition shift on Mondays and Wednesdays. She held his gaze for a long moment. Then she turned and walked toward the executive elevator, her heels clicking against the marble. Interesting, was all she said. The elevator doors closed behind her. Marcus exhaled. Bro. Darnell appeared at his elbow, eyes wide. Did that just happen? Did Victoria Chen just talk to you in the lobby about speaking German? Marcus picked up his mop. It was nothing. Nothing, man. I've worked here 4 years, and she's never even looked at me. She looked at you like... Thompson. The voice cut through the lobby like a blade. Gerald Patterson, chief of building operations, marched toward them. He was a heavy-set white man in his late 50s, with a red face and a permanent scowl. In 7 years, Marcus had never seen him smile. My office, now. Darnell winced. Good luck, brother. Marcus followed Patterson through the service corridor past the break room that always smelled like burnt coffee into a cramped office, cluttered with schedules and maintenance reports. Patterson slammed the door. What the hell was that? Sir? Don't sir me. Patterson's face was getting redder by the second. You were on a personal call, in the executive lobby, in front of Victoria Chen, speaking some kind of, what was that, German? Yes, sir. It was a call from, I don't care if it was the president of Germany. Patterson slammed his palm on the desk. You're security, Thompson. You're supposed to be invisible. You know what happens when security stops being invisible. Bad things, complaints, reviews, budget cuts. Marcus said nothing. I've got executives asking questions now. Who's the black security guard speaking German in the lobby? How am I supposed to explain that? Marcus felt something shift inside him. Something cold and hard. You could explain that I'm multilingual, sir. That I was receiving a professional call from an academic institution. That I've worked here for 7 years without a single complaint. Patterson's eyes narrowed. Watch your tone. I'm just stating facts, sir. You want facts? Here's a fact. Patterson leaned forward. You're off the morning rotation, effective immediately. You're reassigned to parking garage detail, midnight to 8. Marcus's stomach dropped. The parking garage is an hour from my daughter's school. If I'm working midnight to 8, I can't... Should have thought about that before you decided to show off in the lobby. I wasn't showing off. I was answering a phone call. In German. Since when is speaking another language a problem? Patterson stood up slowly. He walked around the desk until he was standing directly in front of Marcus, close enough that Marcus could smell the coffee on his breath. Let me make something very clear to you, Patterson said quietly. You're a security guard. That's what you are. That's all you are. I don't know what you were before and I don't care. Here you hold doors and check badges. You don't take personal calls in the executive lobby. You don't speak foreign languages in front of the CEO. You don't do anything that makes anyone look at you and wonder why a guy who speaks 6 languages is mopping floors. He paused. Because if they start wondering that, they might start wondering about me too. About why I've got a guy like you in a uniform. And I don't like people wondering about me. Clear? Marcus's hands were shaking. Not from fear, from something older, darker. Crystal clear, sir? Good. Report to the parking garage at midnight. Take the rest of the day. Marcus turned to leave. Oh, and Thompson. He stopped. That German call, whatever it was about, forget it. That life, if it ever existed, it's over. You're a security guard now. Act like one. Marcus walked out without another word. The apartment was quiet when he got home. It was always quiet now. Marcus stood in the doorway, keys still in his hand, and let the silence wash over him. The walls were bare except for 3 framed certificates he couldn't bring himself to take down: MIT summa cum laude, Stanford Master of Science, Munich Technical University PhD in Artificial Intelligence. They looked ridiculous here, like relics from a museum nobody visited anymore. He dropped his keys on the counter and walked to Lily's door. She was sitting cross-legged on her bed, earbuds, sketching something in her notebook. She was 10 years old, with her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn chin. When Marcus knocked on the doorframe, she pulled out one earbud but didn't look up. "You're home early," she said. "Got reassigned." Now she looked up. Again. Marcus leaned against the doorframe. "Yeah, parking garage this time. Midnight shift." Lily's face didn't change, but her pen stopped moving. "That means you won't be here when I wake up. I'll leave breakfast ready. And Mrs. Henderson said she can walk you to the bus stop until—" "I don't like Mrs. Henderson. She smells like cats." "She's a nice woman." "She has 11 cats, Dad. 11. Despite everything, Marcus felt the corner of his mouth twitch. "I'll figure something out." Lily went back to her drawing. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she asked, "Did you do something wrong?" "What?" "At work. Did you do something wrong?" Marcus hesitated. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that speaking German in a lobby can get you demoted? How do you explain that being too smart, too qualified, too visible in certain spaces makes people uncomfortable? "No, baby, I didn't do anything wrong." Lily nodded slowly. "That's what I figured." She paused. "Mom always said the world doesn't like it when people don't fit in the boxes." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Your mom said a lot of smart things." "Yeah." Lily turned a page in her notebook. "She did." The silence stretched between them, the familiar heavy silence that had lived in this apartment for 3 years, ever since the accident. "Lily," she looked up. "I know things have been hard since Mom. I know I'm not always around as much as I should be. But I need you to know everything I'm doing, every midnight shift, every parking garage detail, it's for us, for you. So I can be there when it matters. So I can put food on the table and keep a roof over our heads and—" "I know, Dad." Her voice was quiet, but certain. The voice of a child who'd grown up too fast. "I know why you took this job. I know why you stopped doing the smart stuff. Because of me. Because Mom died and you had to take care of me, and you couldn't travel anymore, or work late in labs, or—" "That's not—" "It's okay." She met his eyes. "I'm not stupid. I know you gave up a lot. I just—" She looked down at her notebook. "I just wish you didn't have to be invisible all the time. You're not invisible to me." Marcus didn't trust himself to speak. After a long moment, he walked into her room and sat on the edge of her bed. She leaned against him, head on his shoulder, the way she used to when she was little. "One day," he said quietly, "things are going to be different." "How do you know?" "Because I'm going to make them different." She was quiet. Then she asked, "Promise?" "Promise." Tish. The phone call came 3 hours later. Marcus was in the kitchen, staring at a cup of coffee that had gone cold when his cell buzzed with an unknown number. Local this time. Boston area code. "Hello." "Mr. Marcus Thompson." The voice was crisp, professional female. "This is Jennifer Walsh, executive assistant to Victoria Chen. Ms. Chen would like to meet with you this evening. Can you be at Sterling Tech headquarters by 6 o'clock? Marcus blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Ms. Chen is requesting a meeting. 6 o'clock. Executive floor conference room B. Should I confirm your attendance?" His mind raced. Patterson's warning. The parking garage assignment. The look on Victoria Chen's face in the lobby. "Can I ask what this is regarding?" "Ms. Chen will explain when you arrive. Should I confirm?" Marcus looked at the framed certificates on his wall. At the closed door to Lily's room. At the cold coffee in his hands. 7 years of being invisible. Yes, he heard himself say. Confirm. The executive floor of Sterling Tech was everything the parking garage wasn't. Glass walls, Italian furniture, art that probably cost more than Marcus's apartment building. The air itself felt different up here. Cleaner, richer, like even the oxygen knew its place. Jennifer Walsh, a blonde woman in her 30s with perfect posture and an impeccable suit, met him at the elevator. Mr. Thompson, please follow me. She led him down a hallway lined with portraits of tech pioneers and Sterling Tech milestones. He recognized some faces: Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Ada Lovelace. And at the end of the hall, a large photograph of Victoria Chen shaking hands with the president. Conference Room B had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Boston skyline. The sun was setting, painting the city in shades of gold and pink. Victoria Chen stood with her back to the door, looking out at the view. Thank you, Jennifer. Close the door. The assistant left. The door clicked shut. Victoria turned around. She'd changed from her morning suit into something simpler. Black slacks, a white blouse. Less armor, more human. Sit down, Mr. Thompson. Marcus sat. The chair was more comfortable than his bed at home. Victoria didn't sit. She stood by the window studying him with those sharp, unreadable eyes. I did some research on you, she said. Marcus's heart rate spiked. Ma'am. Marcus Jerome Thompson, born 1982, Baltimore. MIT undergraduate full scholarship. Stanford Graduate Program Research Fellowship. Technical University of Munich PhD in Artificial Intelligence, specializing in neural pathway integration. She paused. 3 patents, 12 published papers, one of which is currently being cited by research institutions in 6 different countries. Marcus said nothing. You were on track to be one of the leading minds in AI development, Victoria continued. Job offers from Google, Microsoft, DARPA, and then 7 years ago, you disappeared. She tilted her head. Why? Personal reasons. Your wife. Marcus's jaw tightened. You did thorough research. I do thorough everything. Victoria walked slowly toward the table. Elena Thompson, sign language interpreter, killed in a car accident 7 years ago. You have a daughter, Lily, age 10, who hasn't spoken in public since her mother's funeral. With all due respect, Ms. Chen, my family is none of your... You applied for 15 positions within Sterling Tech over the past 7 years. Every single application was denied. Marcus stopped. Victoria sat down across from him. 15 applications: security supervisor, facilities manager, technical consultant, translation services coordinator. All denied. Do you know why? I was told I was overqualified, or not a cultural fit. You were told lies. Victoria's voice hardened. I pulled your files today, every single one. You know what I found: notes. Handwritten notes from Gerald Patterson flagging your applications. Not appropriate for advancement. Security risk may have divided loyalties. Overqualified will cause problems. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. Patterson has been blocking you for 7 years, Victoria said. And I didn't know. Which means either my systems failed, or someone wanted to make sure I never found out. Why would anyone do that? Victoria leaned back. That's what I intend to find out. She paused. But first, I have a proposition for you. What kind of proposition? We're hosting the Global Tech Innovation Summit in 72 hours. Representatives from 12 countries. CEOs, ministers, investors. Our translation team just fell apart. 2 key members quit this morning, and the 3rd is under investigation for falsifying credentials. Marcus's eyebrows rose. Falsifying credentials. Someone approved a contract with an unqualified firm. Translations are a mess. I've got Mandarin documents that accidentally threaten hostile takeover and German briefings that mispronounce the chancellor's name. She paused. I need someone who can fix it. Someone who understands languages, not just words, but meaning, context, culture. You want me to translate for your summit? I want you to save my summit." Victoria's eyes locked onto his. "You speak 6 languages fluently. You have a PhD in a field half my executives can't spell. And you've been mopping my floors for 7 years because a man named Gerald Patterson decided you were too threatening to promote." Marcus sat very still. "The assignment is temporary," Victoria continued. "1 week. I'll pay you $5,000. If things go well, we'll discuss something more permanent." She leaned forward. "But I need to know, are you still the man who wrote those papers? Or have 7 years of midnight shifts broken something that can't be fixed?" Marcus thought about Patterson's red face, about the parking garage, about Lily's question. Did you do something wrong? About 7 years of being invisible. "I'm still that man," he said quietly. "I just stopped believing anyone wanted to see him." Victoria nodded slowly. "Then show me. Show everyone." She stood up. "Report tomorrow morning at 7. Executive floor. Wear something without a Sterling Tech logo on it." She walked toward the door, then stopped. "Mr. Thompson, one more thing." "Yes." She turned. For a moment the CEO mask slipped and Marcus saw something beneath it. Something human. "The man who answered that phone this morning, who spoke German like it was his first language, who stood in my lobby like he belonged there, that man wasn't invisible. Not to me." She paused. "Don't ever let anyone convince you to disappear again." She left. Marcus sat alone in the conference room, watching the last light of sunset fade over Boston. For the first time in 7 years, he felt something stir in his chest. Not hope, not yet, but something close to it. When he got home, Lily was still awake. She was sitting at the kitchen table, her sketchpad open, colored pencils scattered around her. When she saw his face, she stopped drawing. "Something happened," she said. Marcus sat down across from her. "Yeah, something happened. Good something, or bad something?" He thought about it. About Patterson. About Victoria Chen. About 72 hours that could change everything. "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But I think maybe the world is about to see me again." Lily studied him with her mother's eyes. Then she slid her sketchpad across the table. It was a drawing of a man standing in front of a tall building. He was wearing a suit, not a uniform. And above his head, she'd written 2 words in careful letters, "Not invisible." Marcus stared at it for a long time. "I made it for you," Lily said quietly. "For when you forget." He reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "I won't forget," he said. "Not anymore." Outside the city hummed with a million invisible lives. But inside this small apartment, in this quiet moment between a father and daughter, something was beginning to change. Something that couldn't be stopped. Marcus arrived at Sterling Tech at 6:45 a.m., 15 minutes early. He wore the only suit he still owned, a navy blue Brooks Brothers he'd bought for Elena's funeral and hadn't touched since. It still fit, though the shoulders felt strange now, like wearing someone else's skin. Jennifer Walsh met him at the executive elevator with a tablet and a security badge. "Mr. Thompson, Ms. Chen is in a breakfast meeting, but she asked me to get you started." She handed him the badge. "This gives you access to the executive floor conference rooms A through D and the translation services office on 12. Marcus looked at the badge. His name was printed beneath the Sterling Tech logo, followed by 3 words, "International Liaison Consultant." "There's a desk set up for you on 12, Jennifer continued. "Laptop, phone, everything you need. The summit materials are already loaded. Ms. Chen wants your assessment by noon." "Assessment of what?" Jennifer's professional mask slipped for just a moment. "Everything." The translation services office on 12 was chaos. Papers covered every surface. 3 interns huddled around a single computer, arguing in hushed voices. A printer in the corner was spitting out pages that no one was collecting. And in the middle of it all, a young black woman with natural hair and wire-rimmed glasses was shouting into a phone. "No, I said the German delegation, not the Germanic delegation. There is no Germanic delegation. That's not a country." She slammed the phone down and looked up at Marcus. "Who are you?" "Marcus Thompson. I'm supposed to be helping with translations." The woman laughed a sharp, exhausted sound. "Helping, brother, you'd need a miracle to help this mess." She extended her hand. "Zara Mitchell, HR analyst. I got pulled into this disaster 3 days ago because I minored in Spanish and they were desperate." "How bad is it?" Zara picked up a stack of papers and thrust them at him. Page 1. Welcome letter to the Japanese delegation. Supposed to say, "We honor your partnership." Currently says, "We tolerate your presence." Marcus scanned the page. His eyebrows rose. Page 7. Zara continued. Mandarin briefing for Minister Liu. The phrase strategic collaboration got translated as, and I quote, hostile corporate annexation. How is that even possible? Because the company Patterson hired for translations used AI software and didn't bother to proofread. Half these documents are one mistranslation away from an international incident. Marcus flipped through more pages. German, French, Korean, Arabic. Each one riddled with errors, some minor, some catastrophic. Who approved this? Zara's expression darkened. Take a guess. Patterson. Patterson's signature is on the contract, but the company Apex Global Linguistics is run by someone named Ashley Morrison. She paused. Derek Morrison's niece. Who's Derek Morrison? Chief Operating Officer, Patterson's boss, and the son-in-law of Sterling Tech's biggest shareholder. Zara lowered her voice. I've been here 2 years, Marcus. I've seen things. People getting passed over, applications disappearing. Qualified candidates rejected for cultural fit. It's not random. It's a system. Marcus set down the papers. Why are you telling me this? Zara studied him for a long moment. Because I pulled your personnel file yesterday. 15 applications, 15 rejections, a PhD from Munich working security. She shook her head. You're not the only one they've buried, but you might be the only one who can do something about it. Before Marcus could respond, the office door swung open. A white man in his early 40s walked in. He had silver-streaked hair, a designer suit, and the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. Behind him, Patterson followed like an obedient dog. Well, well. The man's voice was smooth, practiced. You must be the famous janitor. Marcus straightened. Security guard, actually. And you are? Derek Morrison, COO. He didn't offer his hand. I've heard interesting things about you, Mr. Thompson, speaking German in the lobby. Impressive credentials hidden under a uniform. It's quite the story. It's not a story, it's my life. Derek's smile thinned. Yes, well. Let's hope your life doesn't complicate our summit. He glanced around the office. I trust everything is under control here. Zara stepped forward. We're managing, sir. Mr. Thompson is reviewing the materials now. Managing. Derek repeated the word like it tasted sour. This summit represents 3 years of planning and $47 million in projected deals. Managing isn't good enough. He turned to Marcus. Ms. Chen seems to think you can fix this. Personally, I have my doubts. Then I guess I'll have to prove you wrong. The room went silent. Patterson's face reddened. Derek's smile vanished entirely. Careful, Mr. Thompson. Derek's voice dropped. You may have impressed Victoria with your little performance yesterday, but she's not the only one who decides what happens in this building. Empires have gatekeepers, and gatekeepers have long memories. He left without another word. Patterson shot Marcus a venomous look and followed. Zara exhaled. Well, that was terrifying. Marcus picked up the stack of papers again. How long until the summit starts? 70 hours. Then we better get to work. For the next 18 hours, Marcus didn't leave the 12th floor. He reviewed every document, all 847 pages of them. He corrected translations, rewrote entire sections, adjusted cultural references that would have offended half the delegations. He called colleagues from his old life, professors, researchers, native speakers, and begged for rush consultations. Zara stayed with him, organizing files, coordinating with the printing team, fielding calls from increasingly panicked executives. At 2 a.m., she brought him coffee from the break room. "You haven't eaten anything since that granola bar at noon," she said. "Not hungry." "Marcus." She sat down across from him. "I've worked with a lot of people in this company. Executives, consultants, so-called experts. None of them would have done what you're doing right now." "What am I doing?" "Caring, actually caring about getting it right." She paused. "Why?" Marcus stopped typing. For a moment he just stared at the screen, at the Mandarin characters he'd been adjusting for the past hour. "My wife used to say that language isn't just words, it's trust. When you speak to someone in their language, you're telling them, 'I see you. I took the time to understand your world.'" He looked at Zara. "These delegations are coming from 12 countries. They're trusting us to communicate with them honestly. If we send them documents full of errors and insults, we're not just being sloppy. We're telling them they don't matter." Zara was quiet. "That's why you got buried," she said finally. "People like you, people who actually give a damn, you're dangerous to people like Morrison. Because if you succeed, everyone starts asking why you were mopping floors in the first place." Marcus returned to his typing. "Then I guess I'd better succeed." At 4:30 a.m., the elevator doors opened. Victoria Chen walked out carrying 2 bags of takeout and looking like she hadn't slept either. She found Marcus alone at his desk, Zara having finally gone home an hour earlier. "You're still here," Victoria said. "So are you." She set the bags down on his desk. "I had a feeling you'd skip dinner, and breakfast, and probably lunch tomorrow." She pulled out containers of Chinese food, real Chinese food, not the Americanized version. "My mother's restaurant, best Dan noodles in Boston." Marcus opened a container. The smell hit him, and his stomach growled loudly enough to be embarrassing. "Eat," Victoria said. "That's an order." They ate in silence for a few minutes. The food was incredible, spicy, complex. Nothing like the takeout Marcus usually couldn't afford. "How bad is it?" Victoria asked finally. "Bad, but fixable." Marcus wiped his mouth. The Mandarin materials were the worst. Apex basically ran everything through Google Translate and called it a day. "But I've got native speaker consultations scheduled for the morning, and I've already rewritten the critical sections." "What about the German documents?" "Mostly fine, actually. A few tone issues, some formality problems, but nothing catastrophic." Victoria nodded slowly. "And the contract with Apex? Signed by Patterson. But the company is connected to Derek Morrison's family." Marcus set down his chopsticks. "I'm guessing you didn't know that." "I didn't." Victoria's jaw tightened. "Derek has been with this company for 12 years. He was here before me. His father-in-law owns 30% of our stock." She paused. "But that doesn't make him untouchable." "Doesn't it?" Victoria met his eyes. "Nothing is untouchable. Not if you're willing to pay the price of touching it." Marcus studied her. In the harsh fluorescent light with no makeup and exhaustion written on her face, she looked different, more human, more real. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Go ahead." "Why are you really doing this? The summit. The translations, you could have hired any consulting firm in the world. You didn't need a security guard with a dusty PhD." Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "My parents came to this country from Taiwan in 1975, she said finally. "My father had a master's degree in engineering. My mother had been a teacher. When they got here, nobody cared. My father worked in a laundromat for 15 years. My mother cleaned houses." She paused. "They spoke 4 languages between them. They could have contributed so much, but nobody wanted to see them as anything other than immigrants with accents." She looked at Marcus. "When I saw you in that lobby yesterday speaking German like it was nothing, like it was natural, I saw my father. I saw every person who's ever been told they don't belong in certain rooms." Her voice hardened. And I decided I was done letting that happen in my building. Marcus didn't know what to say. Get some sleep, Victoria said, standing up. Tomorrow's going to be longer. She was almost to the elevator when Marcus called out. Ms. Chen. She turned. Thank you. For the food. And for... He searched for the right words. For seeing me. Something flickered across her face, something soft, quickly hidden. Don't thank me yet, she said. We haven't won anything. We've just started fighting. The elevator doors closed behind her. Marcus looked at the mountain of work still ahead of him. At the empty takeout containers. At the badge that said International Liaison Consultant. Then he pulled up the next document and kept working. The first delegation arrived at 8 a.m. on Thursday. Dutch. 12 executives from a tech consortium based in Amsterdam, led by a tall, balding man with sharp eyes named Dr. Peter van der Hoeven. Marcus met them in the lobby, the same lobby where 4 days ago he'd been mopping floors. The irony wasn't lost on him. Welcome by Sterling Tech, Marcus said, stepping forward with his hand extended. Uw kamers zijn gereed. We hebben stilte ruimtes ingericht voor gebed en een laat uitchecken op vrijdag. Dr. van der Hoeven's eyebrows rose. Your Dutch is excellent. Where did you learn? Munich mostly. I had Dutch colleagues during my doctoral research. Doctoral research. Van der Hoeven looked intrigued. In what field? Artificial intelligence. Neural pathway integration. The Dutch executive's face transformed. Wait. Marcus Thompson. The Marcus Thompson who wrote Linguistic Bridges in Machine Learning. Marcus felt his face warm. That was a long time ago. That paper changed how we approach multilingual AI systems at our company. Van der Hoeven grabbed Marcus's hand and shook it vigorously. I cited it in 3 different presentations. Why haven't I heard your name in years? Life got complicated. Van der Hoeven studied him. Well, it seems to be getting uncomplicated. I look forward to speaking with you more during the summit. As the Dutch delegation moved toward the elevators, Marcus felt a presence beside him. Zara, tablet in hand, was grinning. Did that just happen? Did you just become best friends with the head of the Dutch delegation? He read one of my papers. Marcus, he looked at you like you were a rock star. She glanced at her tablet. Japanese delegation lands in an hour. German delegation at 2. You ready? Ready as I'll ever be. By 4 p.m., Marcus had greeted delegations in Dutch, Japanese, German, Mandarin, French, and Arabic. He'd corrected seating arrangements, smoothed over a minor protocol dispute, and prevented a disaster when an intern almost served pork to the Saudi delegation. He hadn't sat down once. He was reviewing name placards in the main conference room when a familiar voice interrupted. You're not what I expected. Marcus turned. Derek Morrison stood in the doorway, watching him with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. You said that before, Marcus replied. What exactly did you expect? Derek walked slowly into the room. I expected someone who would crack under pressure. Someone who'd make a mistake and prove that Victoria's little experiment was a failure. He stopped a few feet away. Instead, I'm hearing reports that you're some kind of miracle worker. The Dutch delegation wants to invite you to Amsterdam. The Japanese minister asked specifically to have you translate his keynote. Is that a problem? It's a complication. Derek's smile didn't reach his eyes. You see, Mr. Thompson, this company has a certain order, a structure. People like you, talented people, unexpected people, you disrupt that structure. People like me. Don't play dumb. It doesn't suit you. Derek stepped closer. You think I don't know what you are, what you represent. You're not just a translator. You're a symbol, proof that the system failed, that somewhere along the way someone like you slipped through the cracks and ended up mopping floors when you should have been running departments. Marcus held his ground. And that bothers you. It makes me curious. Derek tilted his head. What happens when other people start asking questions? When they look at you and wonder who else we've overlooked? Who else is hiding in plain sight, waiting for their chance? He leaned in. Empires don't like questions, Mr. Thompson. They like answers. Simple, predictable answers. Maybe this empire needs new management. The words were out before Marcus could stop them. Derek's expression went cold. Be very careful. Victoria may have taken a liking to you, but Victoria answers to a board, and boards answer to shareholders, and shareholders answer to money. He straightened his tie. Enjoy your moment in the sun, but remember, moments end. He walked out. Marcus stood alone in the conference room, his heart pounding. He looked at the name placards in his hands, dozens of them, representing hundreds of people from across the world. Then he looked at the one he was holding. Marcus Thompson, International Liaison. For a moment, he could almost hear Elena's voice. The world doesn't like it when people don't fit in the boxes. Marcus set down the placard and pulled out his phone. He had a missed call from Lily's school and 3 text messages from Zara about urgent translation issues. He dealt with the urgent issues first. He always did. But as he worked, Derek's words echoed in his mind. Moments end. Not this one, Marcus thought. Not if I can help it. At 9 p.m., Marcus finally went home. Lily was waiting at the kitchen table, a plate of reheated pasta in front of her and her sketch pad open. Mrs. Henderson made dinner, she said. It was weird. She put raisins in the spaghetti. Raisins. I picked them out. She pushed a plate toward him. I saved you some, without raisins. Marcus sat down and took a bite. It was cold and slightly overcooked, but it was the best thing he'd tasted all day. How was school? Fine. Lily watched him eat. How was work? Complicated. Good complicated or bad complicated? Marcus thought about Derek Morrison's threats, about the mountain of work still ahead, about the impossible task of proving himself in a world designed to keep him invisible. I'm not sure yet, he admitted. Lily nodded slowly. Then she slid her sketch pad across the table. It was a new drawing. A man standing at a podium addressing a room full of people. Flags from different countries surrounded him, and above his head she'd written, "The world is listening." Marcus stared at it. I made it today, Lily said quietly. After you left, I was thinking about what you said about the world seeing you again. She paused. I wanted you to see what it looks like, from the outside. Marcus's throat tightened. Lily. You don't have to say anything. She reached across the table and squeezed his hand, a gesture so like her mother that it physically hurt. Just don't give up. Okay, promise me you won't give up. Marcus looked at his daughter, at her mother's eyes, at the fierce, stubborn hope on her face. I promise, he said. And for the first time in 7 years, he actually believed it. That night, Marcus lay in bed staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Day 1 complete. You exceeded expectations. Get some rest. Tomorrow we go to war. Marcus typed back, I thought today was war. Victoria's response came immediately. Today was reconnaissance. Tomorrow the real enemies show themselves. Marcus set down his phone. Outside the city hummed with a million sleeping lives. But Marcus Thompson was wide awake. Because tomorrow everything would change. He could feel it. The question was whether the change would save him or destroy him. He closed his eyes and dreamed of his wife. Of Elena signing, I love you, across a crowded room. Of her voice, soft and certain, saying, the world isn't ready for you, Marcus. But one day it will be. One day, he whispered into the darkness, and the darkness whispered back. Today. The sabotage was elegant, almost beautiful in its precision. Marcus discovered it at 5:47 a.m. on the morning of the summit's main event, 43 minutes before the first keynote was scheduled to begin. He was running a final check on the presentation materials when he noticed a single character change in the Mandarin welcome address. So small that anyone else would have missed it. But Marcus didn't miss it. The phrase mutual prosperity had been changed to financial submission. His blood went cold. He pulled up the backup files. Changed. The cloud archive. Changed. The printed materials already stacked in the conference room. He grabbed one and flipped to page 3. Changed. Someone had systematically altered every version of the document. Someone with access to the translation servers. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Marcus grabbed his phone and called Zara. "What's wrong?" Her voice was groggy with sleep. "Get to the office, now. We have a problem." "How big?" "International incident big." He hung up and sprinted to the Tech Operations Center on the 8th floor. The night shift supervisor, a young man named Kevin, looked up in surprise. "Mr. Thompson, what are you?" "I need access to the translation server logs, right now." "Sir, those require executive authorization." "Call Victoria Chen. Wake her up if you have to. Tell her Marcus Thompson says we're about to start a war with China unless she gives me access in the next 5 minutes. Kevin's eyes went wide. He picked up the phone. 3 minutes later, Marcus was scrolling through server logs while Victoria's voice crackled through the speakerphone. "Talk to me," she said. "What happened?" "Someone accessed the translation files at 2:14 a.m. They made changes to every Mandarin document, small changes but catastrophic ones. If Minister Liu sees these materials, he'll think we're deliberately insulting him. Who has that level of access?" Marcus pulled up the user log. The access code was masked, routed through 3 different servers, but he recognized the pattern. Someone who knows our security protocols inside and out. Someone who wanted this to look like an outside hack. He paused. But they made one mistake. What? They changed the German documents too. Minor errors, nothing an outsider would notice. But I noticed. He pulled up the file. The changes to the German documents use American English spelling conventions. Color instead of color. Organization instead of organization. A German hacker wouldn't make that mistake. Neither would a Chinese one. Victoria was silent for a moment. Then she said, "This was an inside job." "Yes." "Can you fix it?" Marcus looked at the clock. 31 minutes until the keynote. "I can fix the digital presentations, but the printed materials are already in the conference room. Hundreds of copies." "Then we replace them." "That's impossible. There's no time to—" "Marcus!" Victoria's voice was steel. "I didn't ask if it was possible. I asked if you can do it." He closed his eyes. Thought of Lily's drawing. "The world is listening." "I can do it." "Then do it. I'm on my way." The next 28 minutes were the most intense of Marcus's life. He called every intern, every assistant, every person he'd met in the past 4 days, and trusted. Zara arrived within 10 minutes and immediately took charge of the printing operation. Kevin, from Tech Ops, became Marcus's shadow, pulling corrupted files and restoring clean versions. At 6:15 a.m., Marcus stood in the main conference room, watching as a team of 6 people replaced every single printed document on every single table. Victoria arrived at 6:22 a.m. She walked straight to Marcus. "Status?" "Digital files are clean. Printed materials are being replaced now. We'll make it with about 3 minutes to spare." Victoria nodded. Her face was calm, but Marcus could see the fury burning behind her eyes. "Who did this?" she asked quietly. "I have a theory, but I need proof." "Get it." She looked at him. "And Marcus? Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. The summit hasn't started." At 6:30 a.m., exactly, the doors to the main conference room opened. Delegations from 12 countries streamed in. Ministers and CEOs, diplomats and investors, hundreds of people representing trillions of dollars in potential deals. Marcus stood at the side of the room, tablet in hand, watching. His heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. The first hour went smoothly. Welcome addresses in 6 languages, cultural presentations, networking breaks with perfect catering. Then came the keynote. Minister Liu from China took the stage. He was a distinguished man in his 60s, known for his sharp mind and sharper tongue. One mistranslation, one perceived insult, and he would walk out, taking the entire Chinese delegation and $12 billion in potential partnerships with him. Victoria stood at the podium delivering her opening remarks. Marcus fed her the translations through an earpiece, whispering each phrase in Mandarin a half-second before she needed to say it. "We gather here, not as competitors," Marcus murmured, "but as collaborators, not as nations, but as neighbors." Victoria repeated the words flawlessly. Minister Liu nodded approvingly. For 45 minutes they moved through the keynote without a single error. Marcus's voice grew hoarse from whispering, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. And then Derek Morrison walked to the tech booth. Marcus saw him from across the room, watched as Derek leaned over and said something to the audio technician, watched as the technician's face went pale. His earpiece crackled. Victoria's voice. "Marcus, I'm getting feedback. What's happening?" The translation feed cut out. Marcus's stomach dropped. He looked at the main screen where Victoria's speech was supposed to be displayed with Mandarin subtitles. The subtitles were still there, but they were wrong. The sabotaged versions. Someone had switched the backup files. Victoria was still speaking, unaware that the screen behind her was telling Minister Liu that Sterling Tech planned to dominate the Chinese market and absorb their technology sector. Minister Liu's expression shifted. His aide leaned over and whispered something. The minister's face darkened. Marcus had maybe 30 seconds before this became an international incident. He didn't think. He moved. He walked straight onto the stage in front of 500 people in front of cameras broadcasting to 3 continents. Victoria stopped mid-sentence, confused. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus said into the microphone, his voice calm and clear. "Please forgive the interruption. We're experiencing a technical difficulty with our translation systems." He turned to face Minister Liu directly and switched to Mandarin. "Minister Liu, I must apologize. The subtitles you're seeing are incorrect. They are the result of sabotage, deliberate interference with our systems. The words Ms. Chen has been speaking are words of respect, collaboration, and mutual benefit. I give you my personal guarantee." The room was silent. 500 people held their breath. Minister Liu studied Marcus for a long moment. Then he said in Mandarin, "And who are you to give such a guarantee?" "My name is Marcus Thompson. I hold a doctorate in artificial intelligence from the Technical University of Munich. I have spent my career studying how language connects people across cultures, and I have spent the last 72 hours ensuring that every word spoken at this summit reflects the truth of what we're trying to build here." Marcus paused. "If the sabotage translations have caused any offense, I take full responsibility. But I ask you to judge us by our intentions, not by the actions of those who wish to see us fail." Silence. Then Minister Liu smiled. "Dr. Thompson," he said slowly, "your Mandarin is excellent. Where did you learn?" "From my wife. She believed that language was the bridge between hearts." Minister Liu nodded. She was wise. He turned to his delegation and said something that made them all relax. Then he looked back at Marcus. "Please continue, Ms. Chen. Dr. Thompson has vouched for your words. I am satisfied." The room exhaled. Victoria stepped back to the podium, her eyes meeting Marcus's for just a moment. In that look was gratitude, respect, and something else, something that looked almost like hope. "Thank you, Dr. Thompson," she said into the microphone. "Now where were we?" The applause that followed wasn't loud, but it was real. Marcus stepped off the stage, his legs shaking. Zara was waiting at the side of the room, her face pale. "What just happened?" "Someone tried to destroy everything, and they almost succeeded." "Derek." Marcus nodded slowly. I need proof. But yeah, Derek. What are you going to do? Marcus looked across the room to where Derek Morrison stood, his face a mask of controlled fury. Their eyes met. Derek's smile was thin, dangerous. I'm going to finish what I started, Marcus said. The summit lunch was a tense, careful affair. Delegates mingled, deals were discussed, and beneath it all whispers spread about the dramatic moment during the keynote. Marcus didn't eat. He was in the Tech Operations Center with Kevin digging through server logs tracing the sabotage to its source. Here, Kevin said, pointing at a line of code. The unauthorized access at 2:14 a.m. The user masked their identity, but they made a mistake. What kind of mistake? They used a VPN to hide their location, but they forgot to mask their device signature. Kevin pulled up another screen. The changes were made from a company laptop, serial number Sterling C00001. Marcus stared at the screen. Derek's personal laptop. Yes, sir. Marcus took a photo of the evidence with his phone. Can you lock this down? Make sure no one else can access or delete it. Already done. Good. Marcus stood up. Now I need to find Victoria. He found her in the executive lounge, flanked by 2 board members and looking like she hadn't slept in days. Ms. Chen, I need to speak with you privately. One of the board members, an older white man with silver hair, frowned. We're in the middle of a discussion. It's urgent. Victoria studied Marcus's face. Whatever she saw there made her stand up immediately. Gentlemen, excuse me for a moment. They walked to an empty conference room. Marcus closed the door. What is it? I have proof. He showed her the photos on his phone. The sabotage came from Derek's laptop, his personal device. The timestamps, the access logs, everything points to him. Victoria took the phone. Her expression didn't change, but her hands trembled slightly. Why? She asked quietly. Why would he do this? Because he's afraid. Of change. Of people like me. Of what happens when the old order starts to crumble. Marcus paused. He said it himself, empires don't like questions. And you've been asking questions, Victoria. About who gets promoted. About who gets heard. About whether the system actually works or just protects the people already in power. Victoria was quiet for a long time. Derek has been with this company for 12 years, she said finally. His father-in-law owns 30% of our stock. If I move against him without absolute proof, without the board's support, I could lose everything. And if you don't move against him, she looked at him, then people like you stay invisible forever. Marcus held her gaze. Is that the company you want to build? The silence stretched between them. Then Victoria straightened her shoulders. No, it's not. She handed back his phone. Get Zara. Get Kevin. Gather everything, every email, every log, every piece of evidence. I'm calling an emergency board meeting. When? Tonight. After the summit closes. She paused. And Marcus, whatever happens next, I need you to know something. What? You were never invisible. Not to me. Not from the moment you answered that phone in the lobby. She took a breath. I just wish I'd looked sooner. Marcus didn't know what to say, so he just nodded and went to work. The afternoon sessions passed in a blur. Marcus translated, facilitated, smoothed over minor disputes, and pretended everything was normal. But beneath the surface, something was building. Derek Morrison seemed to sense it. He watched Marcus from across every room, his expression growing darker by the hour. At one point, he cornered Marcus in a hallway. You think you've won something, Derek said quietly. You haven't. I'm not trying to win anything. I'm just doing my job. Your job. Derek laughed bitterly. You don't even know what you've started. Victoria can't protect you. The board won't support her. And when this is over, you'll be right back where you started, holding a mop and pretending you never wanted anything more. Marcus felt the anger rise in his chest, hot and familiar, but he pushed it down. You know what the difference is between us, Derek? Enlighten me. You see power as a wall, something to hide behind, something to protect you from people who might challenge you. Marcus stepped closer. I see power as a door, and I'd rather spend my life opening doors than building walls. Derek's face reddened. You're going to regret this. Wait. Maybe. But at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. Marcus walked away without looking back. At 6 p.m., the summit officially concluded. The closing ceremony was a triumph. 16 major partnerships announced, $23 billion in commitments, standing ovations in 3 languages. But Marcus barely heard any of it. He was thinking about Lily, about the drawing she'd made, about the promise he'd given her. Don't give up. At 7 p.m., Victoria called the emergency board meeting. Marcus wasn't in the room, but Zara was taking notes as an HR representative. She texted him updates every few minutes. 7:12 p.m. Victoria presenting evidence. Board members shocked. 7:23 p.m. Derek denying everything. Claims laptop was stolen. 7:34 p.m. Kevin from Tech Ops testifying. Access logs irrefutable. 7:41 p.m. Board member Harrison demanding Derek's resignation. 7:58 p.m. Vote called. 7-3 in favor of immediate termination. 8:15 p.m. It's over. Derek is out. Marcus read the final message 3 times. Then he went to the executive floor. Victoria was alone in her office, standing by the window, looking out at the city. She didn't turn when he entered. It's done, she said. Derek's gone. Patterson, too, he was complicit in the hiring discrimination. The board has authorized a full investigation into the past 5 years of HR decisions. Marcus walked to stand beside her. How do you feel? Exhausted. Relieved. She paused. Afraid. Of what? Of what comes next. Of being wrong. Of breaking something that can't be fixed. She finally turned to look at him. I've spent my whole life building walls, Marcus. Protecting myself. Protecting the company. And now I'm tearing them down, and I don't know what's on the other side. I don't either, Marcus admitted. But I know it has to be better than what we had. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I want you to stay. What? Not as a consultant. Not as a temporary fix. She faced him fully. I'm creating a new position. Director of Talent Development. Someone to find every Marcus Thompson still hiding in the basement. Someone to make sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. Marcus's heart was pounding. Victoria, you don't have to answer now. Take the weekend. Think about it. She paused. But Marcus, whatever you decide, thank you. For not giving up. For not letting them win. Marcus looked at her. At this woman who had built an empire and was now choosing to open its doors. I don't need the weekend, he said. I'll do it. But I have one condition. Name it. I want to bring people with me. Zara, Kevin, anyone else who's been fighting this fight alone. We build something new together, or we don't build it at all. Victoria smiled a real smile, the first one Marcus had ever seen from her. Deal. They shook hands. And in that moment, standing in the office where everything had almost fallen apart, something new began. Marcus drove home that night with the windows down, the cool air rushing past him, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and white. When he walked into the apartment, Lily was waiting. She was sitting at the kitchen table with her sketch pad, but she wasn't drawing. She was just sitting there watching the door. You're late, she said. I know. I'm sorry. Something happened. It wasn't a question. Lily always knew when something had happened. Marcus sat down across from her. Yeah. Something happened. Good. Something. I think so. He took a breath. I got offered a new job, a real job. Director of Talent Development. Lily's eyes went wide. Does that mean no more night shifts? No more night shifts. No more mopping. No more mopping. No more being invisible. Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. No, baby. No more being invisible. Lily was quiet. Then her face crumpled, and she started to cry. Not sad tears, but the kind of tears that come when something finally breaks open inside you. Marcus pulled her into his arms and held her tight. "It's okay," he whispered. "It's okay." "I knew you could do it," she sobbed into his shoulder. "I always knew. Mom knew too. She told me before she died, she said, 'Your daddy's going to change the world someday. You just have to believe in him.'" Marcus's throat closed. He couldn't speak. He just held his daughter and let his own tears fall. They stayed like that for a long time. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, Marcus sat alone in the kitchen. He pulled out his phone and looked at the photo Zara had sent him, a screenshot of the final board vote. 7-3. Unanimous among the independent directors. He thought about Elena, about the day they'd met at a conference on assistive technology, her hands moving gracefully as she interpreted for a deaf speaker. About the way she'd looked at him when he told her he wanted to spend his life building bridges between languages, between people. "The world isn't ready for you, Marcus," she'd said that day. "But one day it will be." Marcus looked at the ceiling as if he could see through it to wherever she was now. "You were right," he whispered. "You were always right." His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "The Dutch delegation wants to hire you as a consultant. The Japanese minister asked for your contact information, and Minister Liu sent a formal request to have you speak at their technology summit in Beijing next spring." Marcus stared at the messages. Then he typed back, "Tell them I'm busy. I have a company to change first." Victoria's response came immediately. "That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say." Marcus set down his phone and looked at the drawings Lily had made over the past week. The flags, the man at the podium, the words she'd written in careful letters, "Not invisible." The world is listening. He gathered them all up and carried them to his bedroom. One by one, he pinned them to the wall above his desk. Then he stood back and looked at them. And for the first time since Elena died, Marcus Thompson felt like himself again. Not the janitor, not the security guard, not the invisible man. Just Marcus, father, scholar, bridge builder, ready to begin. 3 weeks after the summit, Marcus walked into Sterling Tech through the front entrance for the first time in 7 years. Not the service door, not the loading dock. The front entrance where executives and board members and important people walked through every day. The security guard at the desk, a young black man Marcus had seen around but never spoken to, did a double take. "Mr. Thompson." "Morning, James." "I heard what happened. Everyone heard." James leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Is it true about the new program? About finding people like us?" Marcus stopped. "What do you mean, people like us?" James hesitated. "I've got a degree in computer science. Howard University cum laude. Applied for IT support 3 times. Never got a call back." He paused. "I figured it was just how things worked." Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. "It's not how things are going to work anymore. Come see me next week. Bring your resume." James's face transformed. "Yes, sir, I will. Thank you, sir." Marcus walked to the elevator, but the exchange stayed with him. How many others were there? How many Jameses and Marcuses hiding in plain sight waiting for someone to notice? He was about to find out. The director of Talent Development Office was on the 14th floor, not the executive level, but close. Victoria had offered him a corner suite on 15, but Marcus had refused. "I need to be accessible," he'd told her. "People won't come to me if I'm sitting in an ivory tower." So she'd given him a modest office with glass walls and an open-door policy. Within the first week, that open door had become the most trafficked entrance in the building. Zara was waiting for him when he arrived, tablet in hand and fire in her eyes. "We have a problem," Good morning to you too. Marcus, I'm serious. She followed him into his office. The investigation into HR practices is hitting walls. Patterson's files were deleted before he was terminated. Years of documentation just gone. Marcus set down his briefcase. Can tech recover them? Kevin's trying, but someone did a thorough job. Professional-grade data destruction. She paused. This wasn't Patterson. He could barely operate his email. Someone helped him cover his tracks. Derek. Maybe. Or someone else we haven't identified yet. Zara sat down across from him. There's more. I've been interviewing current employees about their experiences. The stories, Marcus, they're worse than we thought. Tell me. Zara pulled up her tablet. Maria Gonzalez, kitchen staff for 8 years, has an MBA from Mexico that was never recognized. Applied for finance positions 6 times. Told she lacked corporate experience. Marcus nodded grimly. Go on. Raymond Chen, maintenance department. Former software engineer from Shanghai. Applied to IT 12 times. Notes in his file say he might have language barriers. The man speaks 4 languages fluently. Zara scrolled down. And then there's Esperanza Williams, night shift cleaning crew. She has a nursing degree. Her husband got sick 5 years ago. She needed flexible hours. Applied to the company health services department twice. Both applications were flagged as overqualified. Overqualified for a job she's literally trained to do. Exactly. Zara set down the tablet. Marcus, this isn't just bias. It's systematic suppression. Someone made a deliberate decision to keep talented people at the bottom. The question is why? Marcus leaned back in his chair. Because talented people ask questions. They notice things. They don't accept that's just how it works as an answer. He paused. You keep people desperate enough they stay quiet. They don't complain. They don't organize. They just survive. So, what do we do? Before Marcus could answer, there was a knock on the glass door. A woman stood there, late 30s Filipino, wearing a cleaning uniform. She looked terrified. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I can come back. I didn't mean to interrupt. Marcus stood up. Please come in. What's your name? Rosario. Rosario Santos. I work nights on floors 8 through 12. She stepped inside hesitantly. I heard about what you're doing, about the new program, and I hoped. Sit down, Rosario. Marcus gestured to the chair beside Zara. Tell me your story. Rosario's hands were shaking. I don't want to cause trouble. You're not causing trouble. You're helping me fix it. She took a breath. I was a teacher in the Philippines. Elementary school, 15 years. When I came here, they said my credentials weren't recognized. I needed American certification, American degrees. So I took the job I could get. How long have you worked here? 6 years. Her voice trembled. I've applied for the corporate training department 4 times. I have experience creating lesson plans, developing curriculum. But they always say the same thing, not the right fit. Zara was taking notes furiously. Marcus leaned forward. Rosario, if you could have any job in this company, what would it be? She looked surprised by the question. Any job. Dream big. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, hope long buried. I would want to train people, help them learn, not just company procedures but real skills, language, communication, leadership. She paused. I used to believe anyone could learn anything if someone believed in them enough. Do you still believe that? Rosario was quiet. Then she said, I want to. I just forgot how. Marcus stood up and walked around his desk. He crouched down so he was at her eye level. I forgot too, he said quietly. For 7 years I forgot, but someone reminded me. And now I'm going to remind you. He put a hand on her shoulder. Give me your information. Your real resume, All your qualifications, everything. I'm going to make sure the right people see it." Tears spilled down Rosario's cheeks. "Why would you do this? You don't even know me." "Because someone did it for me. And now it's my turn." After Rosario left, Zara stared at Marcus for a long moment. "What?" he asked. "Nothing. She shook her head. "When I started this job, I was ready to quit every other week. I thought the system was unbeatable, that no one cared." She paused. "I was wrong." "You weren't wrong. The system is designed to make you feel that way. That's how it survives." "So how do we kill it?" Marcus smiled grimly. "One story at a time." By the end of the first month, Marcus had collected 47 stories. 47 employees with hidden qualifications, buried applications, and dreams that had been systematically crushed. He documented everything: names, dates, rejection notices, supervisor notes. The pattern was undeniable. He presented his findings to Victoria on a Tuesday afternoon. She read through the report in silence, her face growing darker with each page. "This is worse than I thought," she said finally. "It's exactly as bad as I thought. The question is, what we do about it." Victoria set down the report. "I've been in meetings with the board all week. They're nervous. The shareholders are asking questions about the Morrison situation. Some of them want to quietly bury this whole thing." "And what do you want?" She looked at him. "I want to burn it down and rebuild it from scratch, but I'm not sure I can." "Why not?" "Because Derek's father-in-law still owns 30% of this company. Because half the board members came up through the same system we're trying to dismantle. Because change is expensive, and some people would rather pay for silence than transformation." She stood up and walked to the window. "I'm fighting a war on multiple fronts, Marcus, and I'm not sure I'm winning." Marcus joined her at the window. "My wife used to say something. She said change isn't a battle you win. It's a direction you choose. You keep walking that direction even when the wind pushes back. Especially when the wind pushes back." Victoria was quiet. "She sounds like she was remarkable." "She was." Marcus paused. "She also said that the hardest part of change isn't starting. It's continuing when everyone tells you to stop." Victoria turned to face him. "Is that what you're telling me to continue?" "I'm telling you that you've already started something that can't be stopped. Those 47 people, they know now. They know someone sees them. You can't unring that bell." "So what do I do?" "You ring more bells." The first bell rang the following week. Marcus convinced Victoria to hold a company-wide town hall, not the polished corporate kind with scripted questions and rehearsed answers, but a real one. Open forum. Any question. Any concern. The auditorium was packed. Executives sat in the front rows looking nervous. Behind them, hundreds of employees from every department, engineers and accountants, janitors and security guards, kitchen staff, and IT support. Victoria took the stage alone, no podium, no notes, just her. "I'm going to start by saying something that CEOs aren't supposed to say," she began. "I made mistakes. This company made mistakes. For years we failed people who deserved better. We let a system survive that was designed to keep certain people down and certain people up. And I didn't see it, or maybe I didn't want to see it." The room was silent. "That ends today. Not because it's good PR. Not because we're afraid of lawsuits, but because it's wrong, and because the people in this room, all of you, deserve a company that sees you." She paused. "I want to introduce someone. Most of you know him by now, but you might not know his whole story." She turned to the side of the stage. "Marcus Thompson." Marcus walked out. The applause started somewhere in the middle of the auditorium, the cleaning staff section, he realized, and spread forward, until even some executives were clapping. He took the microphone from Victoria. 2 months ago, I was mopping the floor in this building's lobby. I had been doing that for 7 years. Not because I couldn't do anything else, but because the system decided I shouldn't." He looked out at the sea of faces. "I have a PhD. I speak 6 languages. I have patents and publications and enough credentials to wallpaper this stage. And for 7 years I was invisible." He paused. "I know I'm not the only one. I've spent the last month collecting your stories. 47 of you came to me. 47 people with talents and degrees and dreams that were buried because someone decided you didn't fit." He held up a stack of papers. "These are your stories. I'm not going to read them out loud, that's not my choice to make. But I want you to know that I see them. Victoria sees them. And starting today, we're going to make sure this company sees them too." A hand went up in the back. A young woman in a catering uniform. "Yes. How do we know this isn't just talk? How do we know anything's really going to change?" Marcus nodded. "That's a fair question. Here's my answer: I don't know yet. I can't promise you outcomes. But I can promise you this: I'm not going anywhere. And neither is this program. And every single person who has the courage to come forward to share their story, to demand better, they're not going to be forgotten. They're not going to be punished. They're going to be heard." He looked at Victoria. She nodded. "Starting next month, we're launching Hidden Voices, a formal initiative to identify and promote talent that's been overlooked. Every employee will have the opportunity to submit their full qualifications for review. Every application will be evaluated by an independent committee, and every decision will be documented and auditable." The room buzzed with whispers. "I know this sounds too good to be true. I know you've heard promises before. But I'm not asking you to trust us. I'm asking you to hold us accountable." Marcus set down the microphone and stepped to the edge of the stage. "My daughter made me a drawing a few weeks ago. She wrote 2 words on it: not invisible. That's what I want for everyone in this room. To be seen, to be valued, to be given the chance you deserve." He picked the microphone back up. "So here's my challenge to you. Don't wait. Don't be quiet. Don't assume that someone else will speak up. If you have a story, share it. If you have a skill, show it. If you have a dream, fight for it." He paused. "Because no one is invisible, not unless we let them be." The applause started slow and built to a roar. Marcus looked out at the crowd, at the tears on some faces, the hope on others, the skepticism that would take time to overcome. This was just the beginning. After the town hall, Marcus's office became a pilgrimage site. They came in waves during lunch breaks, after shifts on weekends when the building was supposed to be empty. Cleaning staff with engineering degrees, security guards with MBAs, cafeteria workers with medical training, each one carrying a piece of themselves they'd hidden for years. Marcus listened to all of them. One evening, long after most employees had gone home, there was a knock on his door. He looked up to see Victoria standing there holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," she said. "You thought right." She sat down across from him. "I got the board to approve the Hidden Voices budget today. Full funding for the next 2 years. That's good news?" "There's bad news too." Victoria's expression tightened. "Derek's father-in-law is selling his shares." Marcus set down his coffee. "Isn't that what we wanted?" "Yes and no. He's not selling them on the open market. He's selling them to a private equity firm, one with a reputation for hostile takeovers and cost-cutting." She paused. "They've already started making inquiries about operational efficiency. Let me guess. Programs like Hidden Voices aren't considered efficient. Programs like Hidden Voices are the first thing they'd cut." Marcus felt the familiar weight settling on his shoulders. "So we're trading one enemy for another." "Maybe, maybe not." Victoria leaned forward. "I've been building alliances, other shareholders who believe in what we're doing, board members who see the long-term value. If we can show results, concrete, undeniable results before the sale goes through, we might be able to protect the program." "How long do we have?" 60 days. Marcus laughed bitterly. 60 days to change a culture that took decades to build. "No." Victoria's eyes met his. 60 days to prove it's already changing. Marcus thought about Rosario, who was already shadowing the corporate training team, about James from security, who had just been promoted to IT support, about the 47 stories slowly becoming 47 transformations. It's not enough time. Then we'll make it enough. The 60 days became a sprint. Marcus worked 18-hour days reviewing applications, conducting interviews, fighting bureaucratic resistance at every turn. Some departments embraced the changes. Others fought back with every weapon they had, delayed paperwork, lost files, suddenly discovered policy concerns. But the momentum was building. Week 3, Maria Gonzalez was promoted from kitchen staff to junior financial analyst. Her first report identified $340,000 in annual savings. Week 5, Raymond Chen joined the IT security team. Within days, he'd patched 3 vulnerabilities that had been ignored for months. Week 7, Esperanza Williams transferred to company health services. Her first initiative, a wellness program for night shift workers, reduced sick days by 15%. Each success was a brick in the wall they were building. Each transformation was proof that the system could change. But not everyone was celebrating. Marcus was leaving the office late one Thursday when he found someone waiting for him in the parking garage. Derek Morrison. He looked different than Marcus remembered, thinner, older, something hollow in his eyes. He was leaning against Marcus's car, arms crossed. Derek. Marcus stopped 10 feet away. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to be on company property. Security doesn't patrol this level after 9. Derek's voice was flat. I know, because I used to own this place. You never owned it. You just thought you did. Derek pushed off from the car. You think you've won something. You think you're some kind of hero saving all the little people from the big bad system. He took a step forward. But you don't understand what you've done. Enlighten me. You've created expectations, hope. You've told people that if they just work hard enough, if they just believe hard enough, they'll get what they deserve. Derek laughed bitterly. But that's a lie. It's always been a lie. The world doesn't work that way. Then why are you so afraid of it? Derek's face contorted. I'm not afraid. I'm trying to save you from yourself. Do you think Victoria's going to protect you when the new owners take over? Do you think your little program is going to survive a private equity restructuring? I think it has a better chance than your way ever did. Derek stepped closer. You were supposed to stay invisible, Thompson. That was your role. That's everyone's role who doesn't look right, sound right, come from the right places. The sooner you accept that, no. The word stopped Derek mid-sentence. No. Marcus repeated. I spent 7 years accepting that. 7 years believing that invisible was all I could be. And you know what? It got me. Nothing. Just more silence. More invisibility. More waiting for permission that was never going to come. He stepped toward Derek, closing the gap between them. You're right that the world doesn't always reward hard work. You're right that the system is rigged. But that's not a reason to give up. It's a reason to fight harder. Because every time someone like me succeeds, every time someone breaks through it, proves that invisible isn't forever. It proves that the system can change. Derek's jaw tightened. You're a fool. Maybe. But I'm a fool who's not afraid anymore. Marcus walked past him and unlocked his car. Go home, Derek. This isn't your fight anymore. It never really was. He drove away without looking back. When Marcus got home, Lily was still awake. She was sitting on the couch, sketchbook open, watching something on her tablet. When she saw him, she paused the video and held up the screen. Look. It was a news clip. Local channel business segment. The headline read, Sterling Tech's Transformation, Inside the Company Promoting from Within. Marcus sat down beside her. Where did you find this? My teacher showed it to us. She said it was an example of good leadership. Lily looked at him. She didn't know it was my dad. Did you tell her? Lily shook her head. I wanted to, but I also wanted it to be about the work, not about me. Marcus pulled her close. You're smarter than I was at your age. I know. She grinned. Mom used to say I got the best parts of both of you. Marcus's throat tightened. She was right. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lily asked, "Dad, do you think Mom would be proud of everything that's happening?" Marcus thought about Elena, about the way she'd believed in people, not because they'd proven themselves, but because she saw who they could become. "Yeah, baby, I think she'd be proud." "I think so too." Lily snuggled against his side. "I'm proud too, just in case that matters." "It matters more than anything." Outside, the city hummed with its usual rhythm. But inside this small apartment, in this quiet moment between father and daughter, something had shifted. Marcus wasn't fighting alone anymore. He never really had been. Day 58. Marcus stood in front of the boardroom doors, straightening his tie for the third time. In his hands was a folder containing everything they'd accomplished in the past 2 months. Every promotion, every success story, every metric that proved the impossible was possible. Zara appeared beside him. "You ready?" "No." "Good. Means you care enough to be nervous." The doors opened. Victoria stood inside, gesturing them forward. "They're waiting." The boardroom was full. 12 chairs around a polished table, 11 of them occupied by people who would decide the fate of everything Marcus had built. At the head sat a man Marcus didn't recognize. Gray suit, silver cufflinks, the kind of face that had never known uncertainty. "Mr. Thompson," Victoria said. "This is Richard Calloway, managing partner at Apex Capital. They're the firm acquiring the Morrison shares." Calloway didn't stand, didn't offer his hand, just looked at Marcus with the cool assessment of someone evaluating livestock. "The famous Janitor," Calloway said. "I've heard a lot about you." "Security guard, actually, though I suppose the distinction doesn't matter to someone like you." Victoria shot Marcus a warning look. Calloway's expression didn't change. "Straight to business, then." Calloway leaned back. "I've reviewed your program. Hidden voices, impressive branding. But my analysts have concerns about long-term ROI. With respect, Mr. Calloway, this isn't about ROI. It's about people." "Everything is about ROI, Mr. Thompson. That's how businesses survive." Calloway picked up a sheet of paper. "You've promoted 31 employees in 58 days. Training costs, transition periods, productivity gaps. By my calculation, this program has cost Sterling Tech approximately $2.3 million. And how much has it saved?" Calloway paused. "Excuse me." Marcus opened his folder. Maria Gonzalez identified $340,000 in annual savings in her first month as financial analyst. Raymond Chen's security patches prevented a potential breach that could have cost us millions in liability. Esperanza Williams's wellness program has reduced sick days by 15% across night shift workers. That's approximately $180,000 in annual productivity gains. He slid the papers across the table. In 58 days, Hidden Voices has generated a net positive impact of $1.7 million. And that's just the beginning. These numbers don't account for improved morale, reduced turnover, or the innovations that happen when people finally feel safe enough to share their ideas. Calloway studied the papers. His expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. "Interesting numbers, but numbers can be manipulated." "Then don't trust the numbers. Trust the people." Marcus stood up. "I'd like to invite someone to speak." Victoria nodded. The boardroom door opened. Rosario Santos walked in. She was wearing a simple blouse and slacks, not a cleaning uniform. Her hands were trembling, but her chin was high. "This is Rosario Santos," Marcus said. "She was a teacher in the Philippines for 15 years. For 6 years she cleaned floors in this building. 3 weeks ago she joined our corporate training department." Rosario stepped forward. Her voice shook, but the words came clear. "When I first came to this country, I thought I would have to start over. Forget everything I knew. Become invisible." She paused. "For a long time I was. I cleaned your offices. I emptied your trash. I smiled when you didn't see me and cried when I got home. The room was silent. Then Mr. Thompson asked me a question no one had asked in 6 years. He asked me what I wanted to be, not what I could settle for, what I wanted. She looked at Calloway. I wanted to teach. I wanted to help people learn. And now because of this program, I can. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. This is a letter from the employees I've been training. 17 people. They wrote it together. She unfolded it and began to read. Dear Mrs. Santos, thank you for believing in us. Thank you for teaching us that learning never stops. Thank you for showing us that where we start doesn't have to be where we end. Her voice cracked. She took a breath and continued. We used to feel invisible. Now we feel seen. We used to feel stuck. Now we feel possible. You changed our lives. Signed, the Hidden Voices graduating class. Rosario folded the letter. Tears were streaming down her face, but she was smiling. That is what this program is worth, Mr. Calloway. Not millions of dollars. Lives. Changed lives. She nodded to Marcus and walked out. The silence in the room was absolute. Finally, Calloway spoke. That was unexpected. Change usually is, Marcus replied. Calloway looked at Victoria, then back at Marcus. I'm a businessman, Mr. Thompson. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've seen a lot of programs come and go. Most of them are window-dressing nice ideas that don't survive contact with reality. This isn't one of those programs. How can you be sure? Marcus thought for a moment. Because I lived it. Because for 7 years I was the proof that the old system worked exactly as designed, keeping certain people down, keeping certain people up, making sure nobody asked uncomfortable questions. He paused. The reason I'm sure this program is different is because I'm different, and I'm not going back to invisible. Ever. Calloway studied him. The other board members shifted in their seats. You know what makes a good investment, Mr. Thompson? Conviction. People who believe in something so deeply that they'll fight for it even when the numbers don't add up. He picked up the financial papers Marcus had provided. These numbers do add up, but more importantly, you add up. He set down the papers and stood. I came here prepared to cut this program. My analysts recommended it. The safe play was to streamline operations and maximize short-term returns. He buttoned his jacket. But safe plays don't build empires, and I didn't get where I am by ignoring conviction when I see it. Marcus's heart was pounding. What are you saying? I'm saying Hidden Voices stays. Full funding. 3-year commitment instead of 2. Calloway extended his hand. Prove me right, Mr. Thompson. Prove that the safe play would have been wrong. Marcus shook his hand. I will. After the meeting, Victoria found Marcus alone in the hallway. You did it, she said. We did it. Rosario did it. Marcus leaned against the wall. I thought for sure he was going to shut us down. So did I. Victoria stood beside him. But you changed his mind. Not with numbers, with truth. My wife used to say truth was the only currency that never devalued. Victoria smiled. She sounds like someone I would have liked. You would have. She would have liked you too. Marcus paused. She probably would have pushed us together earlier. She hated inefficiency. Victoria laughed a real laugh, unguarded. Is that what we are, efficient? I don't know what we are. I just know I'm glad you're part of it. They stood in comfortable silence. What happens now? Victoria asked. Now we scale. More offices, more cities, more companies. We prove that what worked here can work anywhere. That's going to take time. I've got time. Marcus straightened. 7 years of it, actually. I figure I'm owed some interest. The celebration that evening was held on the company rooftop. Someone had strung lights between the planters. Music played from a portable speaker. Employees from every department mingled, laughed, shared stories. For one night, there were no hierarchies, no org charts, no invisible barriers. Marcus stood near the railing watching. James from security was talking to a senior vice president. Maria was showing photos of her daughter to the IT director. Raymond and Esperanza were debating something in rapid Spanish, both of them grinning. Zara appeared with 2 glasses of champagne. "You're being antisocial." "I'm being observant." Marcus took a glass. "Thank you for everything." "Don't thank me. This was all you." "No, it wasn't." He turned to face her. "The first day you told me about the investigation. You didn't have to do that. You could have kept your head down protected. Your job stayed invisible like everyone else. But you didn't." Zara shrugged. "I was tired of being invisible too." "Well, thank you for being tired at the right moment." She clinked her glass against his. "To being tired. To being tired." A commotion near the door made them both turn. Lily was walking through, led by Victoria, looking around with wide eyes at the transformed rooftop. "Dad!" She ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist. "This is so cool." Marcus hugged her tight. "What are you doing here?" "Ms. Chen picked me up. She said you'd want family at your celebration." Lily looked up at him. "Is that okay?" "That's more than okay." He looked over her head at Victoria, who was watching them with an expression he couldn't quite read. "Thank you," he mouthed. Victoria nodded and slipped away into the crowd. Lily tugged his hand. "Can I meet everyone? Can you introduce me?" "Everyone. I want to meet the people you helped. I want to hear their stories." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "Yeah, baby. Let's go meet them." For the next hour, Lily was the star of the rooftop. She listened intently as Maria described her journey from the kitchen to the finance department. She asked Raymond about his favorite programming languages. She told Rosario that she wanted to be a teacher too someday, maybe if she was brave enough. When they reached Esperanza, Lily said something that made Marcus stop in his tracks. "My mom was like you," Lily said quietly. She helped people with their words. She translated for people who couldn't hear. Esperanza crouched down to Lily's level. "Your mama sounds like a beautiful person." "She was." Lily paused. "She died. That's why my dad stopped talking for a while. He didn't stop like with words, but he stopped. Inside. You know?" Esperanza nodded. "I know exactly what you mean. But he started again, because of you, because of all of you." Lily looked around the rooftop. "You helped him remember who he was?" Esperanza's eyes filled with tears. She pulled Lily into a hug. Marcus stood frozen, watching his daughter do what he'd been trying to do for months: connect. Build bridges. Make people feel seen. Victoria appeared at his side. "She's remarkable." "She's her mother's daughter." "She's yours too." Victoria touched his arm gently. "You should be proud." "I am." Marcus's voice was thick. "I'm proud of all of it." Later, when the crowd had thinned and the lights were beginning to dim, Marcus found a quiet corner of the rooftop. Lily had fallen asleep on a bench, her head in Victoria's lap. Victoria was stroking her hair absently, looking out at the city. Marcus sat down beside them. "You're good with her," he said. "She's easy to be good with." Victoria didn't look away from the skyline. "She reminds me of someone." "Who?" "Me. Before I learned to build walls." She paused. "She hasn't learned that yet. I hope she never has to." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "That first day in the lobby, when you saw me speaking German, what did you really see?" Victoria finally turned to look at him. "I saw a man who didn't know he was remarkable. A man who'd been told so many times that he was nothing that he'd started to believe it." She paused. "And I saw someone I recognized. Because I'd been that person too once. Before I decided to stop believing the lies." "What made you stop believing?" "Someone saw me when I was invisible. a mentor years ago. She pulled me out of a job I hated and gave me a chance I didn't think I deserved. Victoria's voice softened. I've been waiting 20 years to do the same for someone else. I just didn't know who until I saw you in that lobby. Marcus didn't know what to say. I should have looked sooner. Victoria continued. I should have seen the others, all the Rosarios and Marias and Raymonds hiding in plain sight. But I was so busy building my empire that I forgot what it was supposed to be for. What is it supposed to be for? She looked at Lily sleeping peacefully. For them, for the next generation, for the people who come after us and need to know that invisible isn't forever. Marcus reached over and took her hand. She didn't pull away. We're going to build something real, he said. Not just at Sterling Tech, everywhere. Every company that will listen, every organization that's ready to change. We're going to prove that the system can be different. You really believe that? I have to, because the alternative is going back to invisible, and I'm never doing that again. He squeezed her hand. Neither are you. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Then she leaned her head against his shoulder. Okay, she whispered. Let's build something real. 6 months later, Marcus stood at a podium in a packed auditorium. The sign behind him read, Hidden Voices National Initiative Inaugural Conference. 300 attendees from companies across the country had gathered to hear about the program that had transformed Sterling Tech. Lily sat in the front row between Victoria and Zara. She was wearing a dress she'd picked out herself, blue with yellow flowers, and she was beaming. Marcus looked at her, then at the crowd, then at the speech he'd written and revised 100 times, and then he set it aside. I had a speech prepared, he said into the microphone. Statistics, case studies, ROI projections, all the things business people like to hear. The crowd chuckled. But I'm not going to give that speech. Instead, I want to tell you a story. He took a breath. 7 years ago, my wife died. She was a sign language interpreter. She spent her whole life helping people communicate, building bridges between those who could hear and those who couldn't. When she died, I lost more than a partner. I lost my purpose. The room was absolutely silent. I took a job as a security guard. Night shift. I told myself it was practical, flexible hours, good insurance for my daughter. But the truth was, I wanted to disappear. I wanted to be invisible because being seen hurt too much. He looked at Lily. She nodded encouragingly. For 7 years I was invisible. I mopped floors. I checked badges. I watched people walk past me every day without seeing me. And I accepted it because I'd forgotten that I deserved anything else. He paused. Then one day I answered a phone call. In German. In the wrong place at the wrong time in front of exactly the right person. He smiled at Victoria. And everything changed. Here's what I've learned in the past 6 months. Invisible isn't a condition. It's a choice not made by the person who's invisible, but by the people around them. Every time you walk past someone without acknowledging them, you're choosing to make them invisible. Every time you assume someone's job title tells you everything about them, you're choosing. Every time you decide someone doesn't belong in certain rooms, at certain tables, in certain conversations, you're choosing. He gripped the podium. But here's the good news. If invisibility is a choice, then visibility is too. Every time you stop and really see someone, really listen to their story, really learn what they're capable of, you're making them visible. You're telling them they matter. You're saying, I see you, and what I see is valuable. Marcus looked out at the crowd, at the HR directors and CEOs and middle managers who had come to learn how to change their companies. Hidden Voices isn't about promotions. It's not about diversity metrics or corporate social responsibility or any of the buzzwords we use to make ourselves feel better. It's about one simple thing: seeing people. Really seeing them. And then giving them the chance to become who they were always meant to be. He stepped back from the podium. My wife used to say that language is a bridge. I think she was right. But the most important language isn't German or Mandarin or Spanish. It's the language of recognition, the language of "I see you," the language of "you matter." He looked at Lily one more time. My daughter taught me that. She was the first person to see me after I'd been invisible for years. She drew me pictures and wrote me notes and never gave up on me, even when I'd given up on myself. His voice cracked. If a 10-year-old can do that, so can you. So can all of us. He picked up his speech from the podium and held it up. I don't need this. You don't need statistics to know what's right. You need courage. The courage to look at the people around you, really look and ask yourself, who am I not seeing? Whose voice is being hidden? He set down the speech. Find them, see them, give them a chance. That's the whole program. That's the whole revolution. He smiled. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to see. Now let's go build something that lasts. The applause started slowly, then built to a standing ovation. Marcus stepped off the stage, and Lily was there immediately, throwing her arms around him. You did it, Daddy. We did it, baby. All of us. Victoria and Zara joined them. Rosario was there too, and Maria and Raymond and James and so many others, all the invisible people who weren't invisible anymore. Look at this, Zara said, gesturing at the crowd still applauding. You started something, Marcus, something real. We started something, he corrected, and we're just getting started. That night after the conference ended and the crowds went home, Marcus sat alone in his hotel room. On the desk in front of him was Elena's pen, the silver one Victoria had returned to him, the one his wife had used to write lesson plans and love notes and everything in between. He picked it up and began to write. Dear Elena, he wrote, I'm not invisible anymore. It took 7 years and a phone call in German, and a billionaire who actually listened, and a daughter who never gave up. But I found my way back. He paused, then continued. I wish you could see what we've built. It's not perfect. Nothing is. But it's real. People are being seen. Voices are being heard. The world is changing one person at a time, the way you always believed it could. He set down the pen. I still miss you every day. I still hear your voice in my head telling me to keep going, to keep fighting, to keep building bridges. And I will. I promise I will. He folded the letter and placed it in his pocket next to his heart. Then he picked up his phone and called Lily. Hey, Dad? Her voice was sleepy. Is everything okay? Everything's perfect, baby. I just wanted to tell you something. What? Marcus looked out the window at the city lights stretching to the horizon. Thousands of buildings, millions of people, countless stories waiting to be told. I wanted to tell you that I love you, and that I'm proud of who you're becoming, and that no matter what happens, you'll never be invisible. Not to me, not to anyone. Lily was quiet. Then she said, I love you too, Daddy. Come home soon. Okay? I will. I promise. He hung up and stood at the window for a long time. Behind him on the desk, Elena's pen caught the light and seemed to glow. Marcus Thompson had spent 7 years being invisible. Now he would spend the rest of his life making sure no one else had to. Because the truth was simple, and it had taken him far too long to understand it. No one is invisible unless we choose not to see them. And once you start seeing, really seeing, you can never go back. The world is full of hidden voices. All they need is someone brave enough to listen. And Marcus Thompson was finally ready to hear them all.